Hello, hello. Hi, I'm going to show y'all my ARC stuff, which I have not been accessing for quite a while. Because I had switched to PC, and when I switched to PC, I definitely had to make a new character to have a PC save. And I'm lazy. How do I open the wheel? Need to look at controls too. I got too lazy to redo all the boss fights. So it took me a bit, but I'm getting back to it now. There'd been an update, I waited a little bit, but I think I'm good to like keep playing because everyone else is playing again. Like how do I pull up the wheel? Another inventory. Movement, crouch, prone. Crouch is C. Huh. Crafting list. Then is it over here? Once we put... I have no idea how to open that. What the heck? Let me just try pressing random stuff. But yeah, I have way too many freaking dinos and tames too. So the last time I'd played, I was working on moving everything over. Yeah, there's how I crouch. I'm gonna stand directly under this. What the heck? There we go. What the heck? Okay. This is my hoard of shit. So all of these purple containers, these are those shine horns I've talked about on stream before. But I'm like, I have a problem with. Hold on. My stream deck didn't power on. Turning this on doesn't pick my stream, but it I guess doesn't want to work. Okay. Each of these purple containers. Oh, now it popped up. Each of these purple containers is full of dinos or tames, and I have them sorted-ish. So I had really just been working on transferring everything over here. Which means that it's not pretty up here. It's literally just all my tames and like essentially a giant pile. That only has 7 in it. Let's see, some of these are empty too. I know I planned on like sorting them even further. What's in this one? Whoop. A little bit of a lag into that. But just like each of these is a different tame and I can see all the different stats and stuff. Data what? What is that outdated? This creature was captured prior to a recent data format update. What does that mean? I'm kind of scared. I only have like 2 dinos left out. How can I change my camera view? U, no, D, no, T. Let's target. Okay, that's good to know. I think in emotes I can, yes, that's what I want to do. Whoa, no. The heck? Okay, anyway, I've got my little terror bird. I love terror birds, and these the most. And then I had bred up stats and colors. So this little guy, Dorian, I've had for a long time, but I had bred up so many generations of Shinehorns and then bred to have them have like the same stats. Like combine all the different stats that ones I tamed were good at, you know, good on. And then I also bred in each of the zones of the color. So like I had to tame a bunch to try to get cyan backstripes, and they only spawn like that during holiday events. So I had to like lock in for those. Um, I had to make sure I got the same colorway like for the zone for the like hooves down there, the bottom of the legs, and that back strip. I wanted to be the same shade of purple. That like hot pink I had to breed up to, and like combine with that. Oop, something shitted. It was either me or a dinosaur. But hello, cat. I'm back on my ARC shit. I honestly might plug in a controller too, just because I know how to use the controller to play the game. Because the last time I was really playing serious, that's what I was using. You. Oh, you're good. Yeah, I'm playing ARC. I'm gonna plug my controller in though so I can actually see and shit. I thought this would be a good Nokium option for today. Yeah, see, I immediately like remember how to do this stuff. Okay. I've got my volume. So I've got the Shinehorn. Now that I can throw it off my shoulder because I remember how to change the camera view. I think. Yeah, here we go. Oh, not that. Not that either. My character's hair looks wild. Why can't I? Huh. I can't get it to process anything on the top area or bottom of the wheel. Use the other thumbstick I can though. Okay. I want to toggle game names. And I want to toggle third person. It's not going to let me do that. Oh, here we go. Okay. So this is a Shinehorn. Let me set follow distance on it. Go behavior, follow distance, lowest. And it clip-clops around. Why is it? Oh. The little tiny goat that lights up. It's so cute. Yeah, I love some light goats. Some light pets in general. And if I go outside, last time I played, I'd been working on my little base. Okay, pull out. Let's see here. What do I have? Now I've got a fly. Here we go. Horse. You'll see a theme. And the color went. I have way too many hours in ARC. And hello, Jordan. You exist, sort of. What the hell? What's up? You sick? Oh shit. I hope it works out. What the fuck? Oh my god. Please don't let me crash because I'm flying by someone's base. That must be massive. I hope you're safe and whatnot. I don't let myself have a crisis or anything. Well, that's good. But still not good to be in like a crisis. It's still annoying. Just a pain in the ass. Is it like... I'd seen your DM or something. I don't know where I'm gonna live in another 13 days. Oh, shit. Fuck. What the fuck? And you were just trying, like, worried about your friend in a similar situation. I'm sorry, man. Fuck. That kind of family stuff going on. Man. It's so poop in the butt. You've been doing so good with school, too. Maybe it'll be like, it'll work itself out and be like a perfect timing, like major transition in your life, and you'll look back and be like, shit. Everything kind of clutched up. But also don't have to try to find some silver lining bullshit in the middle of your crisis. Oh man. Not laughing at it because it's funny. Laughing because that's what I have a nervous laugh. Not that I'm nervous, but you know. The tism. It does what it does sometimes. My reaction doesn't match what I'm talking about. Have you been looking for a couple days now then, or are you starting to look, like try to look today? Oh, someone new. Whoa. Or not. Oh, I forgot they added bison. Oh, that's what I need to hunt down and tame. I also feel like my game is very dark. Turn off light shafts. Oh, since we... Yeah. I also have grass turned off. That looks like a terror bird running. Oh no, it's a fucking... What the hell? Is that a penguin? What the heck is that? I'm gonna kill it. I don't know if I killed it or if it was bugging out before. And I just like snapped it back to wherever it's at. Whoa, it's up there now. Maybe this is part of the... Oh, you know what? There's the summer bash. I wonder if it's something with that slippery... Whatever it is. Cow or whatever, however you pronounce the fucking dinosaur penguin shit. Oh god. I'm looking here now, I'm waiting for responses from landlords. Ugh. Well, I hope you hear back soon, because that's stressful as shit. And, damn. A frustrating time to be trying to do all that, too. I'm sure with, like, fires, even though they're not right by you, like, I'm sure that that kind of influences rates and everything. My phyla. I have this boss ass dialect. Someone bought it for me because they called me a slur, and then they felt bad. It's so fucking fun, bro. Every time I use it, I haven't played the game in a while, so I just thought of it right away, but it's just so funny. Hey, it's pretty nice though. Nice of them to do. They could have just called me a slur and then done nothing. So hey, you win some, you lose some. The Homelessness Prevention Fund, you're going to access some of the money to secure a place, and I think friend is going to lend you the rest to get. That's nice. I'm glad that you've got some stuff figured out. But yeah, until you get settled in somewhere, I know it's not going to feel like it's really settled. But even then too, after any big transition and like where I've been living, it can, you know, take a couple weeks after you moved in, even a month to get through the initial bills and everything to feel like, okay, this is stable housing and I'm good to go. Sounds like there are people that are helping out, so that's good. I know that I was supposed to get rid of the food bank by me, but God, these things steal me. Shit. Those things steal. But they closed down. Or they, you know, already can't help enough people. So I'm like, I'm gonna wait until until a last possible second of needing it and then reach out. Your workers' comp on a strict budget, the cheapest places. You're gonna have $4 to $6 a month left after paying for everything. Jesus. Man. That's some fucked shit. I guess I don't know much about your situation, of course. I don't know if maybe after the move, once you're in somewhere new and stuff, it'll get rid of a lot of stressors too, and kind of lead you being more resourced to I don't know, feel like you can do more shit, so it'll be like a trade-off, or if it's gonna be just cooked. That includes your food budget, but you know, strict survival mode for a while. Yeah. Replacements are out of here. Good. There's gonna be, yeah. It's gonna be tough, but it'll be tough with I don't know. Tough with a little more control once you get there. I know for me, not having that control is really frustrating. But damn. October is a 3 pay, so you have to try for the first 2 months. Oh, yeah. I'm looking forward to that shit. U.S. food pantry in the area, yeah. Well, and then Jordan's in Canada too, so I know they have a difference in social supports and maybe more efficient. I don't know. And that budget includes internet and phone. Are you talking the budget with that still leaves you with 45 left? Are you talking all $45 to somehow make it work for all those things? Dude's about to get a fucking walkie-talkie. If you... Oh, okay. Okay. Whew. I was like, at this day, current times, you legit have to have a smartphone if you're, you know, doing things like your online classes and stuff, and having other shit. I guess you could have Wi-Fi just for everything, but man, that makes it so you I wouldn't want to leave the house as much too, because my directions. Y'all have seen me play fucking Resident Evil. I go around a corner, it's like I've never been where I just was. So, and that applies to driving. One time, my nieces will they have a important people day for lunch at school. And at one time my niece wanted Taco Bell, asked me for Taco Bell for lunch. So I went and I got her Taco Bell, and then I turned my ass around and I went to, so all of the schools, in I'm in a big city, so you know how that is, a ton of different elementary schools and middle schools and all that, and they have the same exact architecture and signage and everything, just in a different, 3 blocks away. My dumb ass, because I was so anxious about running behind because it was Taco Bell and it took a minute, I went to the wrong fucking school. Mind you, I buzzed the front door and said, I'm here for blank for their lunch day, their important people lunch or whatever. And they let me in and had me sit there and waiting. And they were like, are you sure? So now every time I go to that shit, I double check with my sister, okay, name of the school. And I just put that shit in my GPS because that was humiliating. I literally went to the front thing and I was like, okay, you have access to the school system, right? This is my niece's name. Look it up. Please. I promise I'm not trying to steal a kid and give them Taco Bell. One of the most like embarrassing moments in my entire life. Honestly, worse than the having the shit in a commode bit. I hear sparkly noise. Yeah, like, oh my god. So embarrassing. Budget $150 a month. That's good. I'm not trying to live on like 20. I'm trying to use like burned out and think about it and the word vomit. No, you're good. Bro, you've seen how I act in other people's chats. Like, we're normal people. That's normal people shit. That's not trauma dumping. It's like, I don't know. I get there's a time and a place for everything, but like, that's one of the things that frustrates me a bit with social media is that once corporations got more involved and like advertisers, like it's good to have healthy boundaries if certain things trigger you, but like too much kind of got swallowed up in the whole like, oh, it's a trauma dump. I'm getting anxiety right now because of it. Hello. Well, yeah, exactly. So I'm good with you know, being honest and saying it's not bothering me. You chill. And if you were saying something where I was like, I don't feel like I can talk about that right now, say it. I know myself, so you're good. You've applied to a couple places, really nice places. And Jesus, can I talk? Really nice-ish places in your range. They have pools. Bro, Iman, like Pokimane, she uploaded a VOD today where she was house hunting, and those motherfuckers had pools in the backyard. It's like, ugh. Give me some of that, especially with your back problems too. And with my back, I'm like, love a pool. It's inclusive. Well, shit. Y'all got public pools like that? What you go to? The last time I've been to a public pool had to be when I was like in freaking middle school. Right across from you, we built public pool. That'd be kind of nice. Wow. So a 32-year-old man would feel comfortable public pool. Hey, as long as you're not trying to go down the little fucking slide with the splash pad, I think, you know. Be alright. Gotta get that pee water in your eyes. Oh my god. 100% go down and slide. You're just standing under, you know those big buckets that dump water at like splash pads and shit? You're just standing under that shit. Sitting poolside with a Steam Deck out. Or your fucking Game Boy or whatever. Waiting for the bucket to fill up and then you sit down, sprint, stand under it, sprint back to the chair. Put your head inside one of those buckets. Hey, we're paying for your buck. More time submerged. Like hacks and your cheeks on. Oh my god, it's supposed to be 110 tomorrow. Where I live, I'm no cam streaming today, and then I'll probably no cam stream tomorrow too, if I even stream. It depends on if my house can even keep it at like a normal temp. Line of 6-year-olds in a water slide. I'm not standing out. Hey. Honestly, that would be so fucked up of them and kind of ableist if someone was like, no, you can't go down the kid's slide. Weaponized solidarity. Like fucking bench warmers. I think the only time, yeah. I remember it took a bit for my niece to get my nieces to get comfy with it too, because it's like a lot under that bucket. But imagine you're like a 40-year-old standing next to a 6'3" adult and also getting like water. Holy shit. That would be a little scary. A little creepy. I gotta decide what I want to do in this game. I need to build my base. Last time I played, I'd started to, hence some random foundations over there. Then I stopped. Your second last girlfriend came back around again, and she's gonna co-sign for this to make sure I get it. You should, I mean, I'm sure you've already thought of it, but like, even if you don't officially get it signed by like your landlord, I don't know, maybe they're really trustworthy. Maybe you actually have like healthy relationships with exes, but just make sure you're not gonna somehow get screwed, you know? I think something that says that they're doing it and they don't expect like compensation or some shit. That's just between you, but I don't even think that would matter. All the pieces are in place for it to work out. It's just the timing. So yay. And then of course being autistic too, like any major transition in life, like that's gonna, you know, my stomach would be hurting. Yeah. Like it doesn't matter if I know that shit'll work out. It's still like, ugh. Healthy breakup 3 years ago, but we get along now though. Well, that's good. I like just, I don't know. They just come after if you don't pay your rent. That's what the cosign is for. She can't like take it back later or anything. Okay, cool. Then yeah, it'll be chill. That's good. But yeah, definitely the timing of it, and then until you're settled and it's still gonna feel like fuck. But better you can remove her from it entirely. Dude, my credit right now is so fucking fucked. It's bad. But like, it's because I still have to finish some paperwork stuff because, so I'm unemployed. And I got denied Medicaid, which I've talked about before on here, despite like having multiple qualifying disabilities. And right now, because I live in a very conservative state, it is, and I've been actively like writing about and talking about like leftist policy, and which is just humanitarian like topics and reality, you know, and civil rights stuff since high school. It just feels like a really scary time to be pushing in a court system, especially with them talking about bringing back institutionalization and like arresting leftists, which good luck, you know, but it's a scary time to have to fight like a denial and to be pushing for an appeal process. So it's been weighing if I need to move to a different state, not really realistic for me. If I need to move to a different country, not really realistic to, like, for me, I can't afford that shit. So I like am shocked that with the SAVE Act and stuff getting fucked, they changed it so my student loans now I'm expected to pay with no income, and I'm having all of my paperwork and seeing my income. They want me to pay a minimum payment of $400 a month, and I make $0 a month. And I'm not able to just push through that because I am actually disabled. So it's taken a bit of my credit down with it. And then of course, like, because when I got laid off, I needed to rely on credit, like on a credit card to pay a lot of my bills and stuff. And then I was paying them down, but then interest started, and now I accrue more interest monthly than my minimum payment. Most of my minimum payment is paying on interest, so it just keeps going up. But yeah, my credit sucks right now too, but I'm glad that you've got something figured out to kind of get through yours and to be able to accommodate that, because it's definitely frustrating to not really have control over that shit. Paid off all your debt on your last paycheck. If I had known this bullshit was gonna happen, you would have just saved it, but that would have fucked you for application, so it just went to 22. Like, if I had another 30 or 60 days, I'd be like, damn, you have a lot when you get a Canadian green card and you get that sweet Canadian disability. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Oh man. Dude, bring back a queer commune. Like, let's freaking go. What could happen? It's a cult. It's not like a bunch of disabled people would be perfect to get taken advantage of. What am I thinking of? What show? I think it was it in Lost where they made like a commune and like grew freaking weed and shit. And he got like taken advantage of. The one dude. He just citizenship in Canada. Well, and the issue too is that like I like don't even know if there's a single doctor in Canada who knows shit about osteogenesis imperfecta. So that was a big thing too. Osteogenesis imperfecta, Canada. There's a Canadian Society. Oh. Oh, looks like their address is in Toronto. Burden of illness of osteogenesis imperfecta in Ontario, Canada. Patients with OI commonly experience comorbidities and complications, namely fractures, which may pose significant burden to patients and the healthcare system. I don't know about that one. One time in a chat, I saw you say, like, I'm not friends with any straight white men. They're weird. I thought he was like, hey. Hey now. Huh. You know, sometimes I just say shit. I think it's one of the blessings of the internet. Sometimes you just say some shit. It's so fucking funny though. You should call my ass out. Well, also though, I don't claim people as like friends, like as an like a personal issue that I gotta work on. Like people say that they consider me like friendly or a friend, and my ass will think they're full of shit for like all of time. Because I'm just like an embarrassed person and an anxious person. And I really struggle with social stuff. Well, like with social cues like that. Like unless someone tells me directly, I don't know shit. Oh, I just accidentally withdrew all that stuff. Like I've straight up had in the past like girlfriends and stuff who were like had to literally say like, no, I thought this was a date. They reach out to be like, say you're lying. I'm a straight white man. I'm drunk really chat at the time for sure. Hey, shit. A fiery fro stream. See, that makes sense. Oh, you know what? I feel like I might know what you're talking about because I do say that like I feel like I need more straight friends because I need to like stay aware of the culture. Like I need to know what they're up to, what's going on. Because I do have like all my friends realistically. Yeah. Aside from you, yeah. I'm like mostly friends with queer people. And I've kind of been that way since college, but I think it's just because I had no other like queer people around really to be friends with growing up. So I was like, hell yeah. Once I, you know, graduated and shit, I jumped on the time someone said I was a fat shamer, even though I weighed 500 pounds and love food. Hey, you could be 500 pounds and love food and still fat shame on accident. I know I'm accidentally ableist a lot of the time, but I know you know that too. But that's funny. Like, poopsie. Ooh, I have foundations. The new map came out, so I don't know if I want to build on this map though, or go to the other map and start building there. But then I have to transfer everything. I don't know if that actually. I don't think that map's probably open to transfers anyway. I probably have to start fresh on there, which might be fun. Maybe I'll do that. Which means I need to make sure I don't try to take my shine horn. Did I ever play on Genesis and Survival Evolved? No, we didn't. Like the exact conversation was about how, in the simplest terms, you lose weight by being in a calorie deficit, but to get up to the weight was it took an effort of like consuming way too many calories. Yeah. I think I remember that conversation because that conversation's been happening a lot online recently too. And I try to like I don't have a lot of power, realistically, but I can at least kind of like drop some nuggets of info and like, yeah, technically you need a calorie, like a caloric deficit, but then also like anything with the human body, there's like a line you have to walk where you don't want to put too much pressure and internalize too much shame in those things. Um, and it's tricky. I know a lot of people right now are getting very like overwhelmed by the amount of weight loss advertisements, which makes sense because trade routes and everything are fucked, and we're having even more food insecurity and financial burden and stress. Um, so usually like society will try to kind of do the whole like I think people have called it like heroin chic, which I don't know. That feels kind of ugh, but there is like a push toward like thinness, whiteness, heteronormative like shit, and also then like a resurgence of that diet culture. So I know people are very much like struggling to walk that line. I will build my base right here for now. Oh wait, no, I'm gonna go to the other map. I forgot because I was thinking about that, but figured as that, but like fewer TLC. A whole pizza and a pound of wings and a 2-liter pop every dinner every day. See, and like, ugh. I'm not saying ugh like gross, like weight stuff. That shit makes me like sad because I just like know how that shame feels. I definitely have struggled with weight stuff my whole life, especially for me too. Like it's complex because the healthiest I am, like I'm healthy, but I'm also fat, and my health and my baseline is different than other people's because of my OI. Hey, welcome in, Zay. Thanks for the follow, Zay Jones. Hope you're doing well. But I've definitely struggled with that my whole life because I shouldn't be like building muscle in the same way other people do who don't have my disability. Um, and it's like always been a really thin line for me to walk. Lots of lines and they're all thin, I guess. But I'm gonna move all my shit into the shiny. I I know how it feels to like want to just be able to conform to that, and then like it's a body thing. Amazing day. Oh, thank you. I hope you do too. Um, and like I know for me, like I had struggled with anorexia, and like had very unhealthy relationships with food, and I still kind of do, but I try to have like a more neutral approach to food. But I know like thinking about other people's relationships with food and stuff, like, and that they feel bad and feel like they have to feel bad. That shit makes me feel so sad sometimes when eating. Controversial conversations as per the usual. Hey, it's not con- conversational. What the hell? It's not controversial. It's just normal. Everyone should want to live their healthiest lives. If you're a larger person, it's not for the reason that I was. You can still be healthy, but like honestly, if you live with your 6,000 calorie a day lifestyle, you aren't eating 6,000 calories of vegetables. You probably aren't your healthiest. Yeah. Well, and two, there are a lot of systems that'll then target like implementing shame, which isn't sustainable, doesn't sustainably lead to like increased like positive health, outcomes, um, and can impact your being resourced to do other things you need to do to survive, to be healthy, like working your job, going out, all those things. Um, there's a lot of focus on like what you should prevent and like keep yourself from, and not like ways that you can give your body new things or things that feel good. Oh yeah, the transfer things inside. That's where I gotta go. Go to this one. There it is. But yeah, it's tricky. There we go. Go for you celery and peanut butter when you're losing weight. Oh, I ate so much celery when I was like starving myself most, or like lettuce sandwiches. I would eat like you do like one slice of bread, like diet like Miracle Whip shit, which I fucking hate Miracle Whip and mayonnaise. Not a fan. I fuck with like vegan mayo, but anything else I'm gonna um oh, I have to pay for the DLC? What the heck? Dang. Too much celery a day. You just use the celery as a filler, like it makes you full without calories. Oh my god, that's loud. Yeah. like like hay and shit. Rice. Unclaimed rewards available. What the heck? Oh, I should check the Steam store. Okay, one sec. Let me do that quick. And like, that's not, like, yeah, I guess it can get you to lose the weight, but then it doesn't really treat any of the underlying like causes. Because also obesity, it's a medical condition. Okay, so go store. Work. Survival ascended. Let me make sure it's not capturing, because what if it okay, it's not. I don't think it would show my card or anything, but you never know. Art. Survival ascended. And then go to DLC. Which is where? Huh, why isn't it showing the DLC? Oh, here we go. Did Ark Lost Colony? That's all. Oh, you just loved eating cheeseburgers. Yeah. Way more than anything now. Yeah. But also once you get to a certain point, like you do have more like likelihood of co-occurring conditions and stuff, and it does permanently impact your system and it can hint at existing underlying like hormonal imbalances or like mental illness, dopamine seeking behaviors, depression, anxiety. Like food serves so many different functions in society that it's not as simple as connecting it directly to like a physical need with the body anymore. Like pounds and stuff. Like I don't know. I'm not a specialist. I don't know what I'm saying really, but like I know what I'm meaning, but I think I found a Genesis Ascended Part 1 and it gives me the option to download and says free. Okay, let me see it. Whoa. I, let me see if it needed to download. I don't think it did. Then let me travel to another server. Let's try this again. I want to go to map 2. What? It says I don't own it again? I think that was both boredom snacking and stress snacking too, and like by replacing chips earlier today. Go get a cheeseburger and buy like 10 of them, like Randy from the Trailer Park Boys. Oh yeah. So you definitely got to a more like healthy space mentally too. Like it became more manageable, I guess. That helps. But like when it comes to, your purpose for losing it, you were aware that there was more going on there. And I assume too your back probably kind of influenced that, huh? Like celery for a long time, fucked with berries and yogurt and granola. Yeah, to like retrain your stomach. And that would make sense. I was on Ragnarok, right? But it makes me type it in every time. 500 pounds by 19 years old. Ooh. I remember you said that actually. You said that you were like, you struggled with it for a while with your weight. Ragnarok, map 2. Join again. By like 24. Damn. You feel like getting out of school helped a lot? Or was it like your other housing? Your state funded housing. I can't remember. Didn't you go to, you were in jail or something? Or something like that. Not to show your teeth the world. Let me. 15, so it wasn't school. Oh, okay. Oh shit, yeah, no, duh. Right, you said that too. Am I hearing all the, oh, it must be nighttime game. Oh, only probation? See, I thought for some reason your ass went to prison. Which, it happens. It's not always the fault of, you know, whoever's convicted. You lacking access to good public defenders or just attorneys in general. But, of course, like structural racism and whatnot. What can I get this DLC to? I might have to quit the game and then reopen it. Maybe for now, I'll just put my character's clothes back on. That's good. Oh yeah, I put up my goat. Oh my god. Not how racist the structure is destroyed by men, but could have affected me, maybe. Hey. Could have made you able to dodge jail time. I don't know. I don't know shit about Canada. No offense. Dang, it really did get rid of the spots on my hotbar. You can afford the lavish fat guy lifestyle you're living. Oh. Okay. Everything just kind of fell into place, I guess. Bison. So I did get one. I must have bought that from someone's machine right after they came out and then, like, didn't fuck with it. Put your calories in, like, half. It. I am gonna get out some of my goats to show off. If I can find which container they're in. Or wait, maybe they're in one of these breeding chambers. Those are my UDs. Oops. Element here? Damn. I really stocked that up so I could not get on as much. That's over 2 years, you lost 75% of it. Sheesh. Cosmos and bulldogs. Interrupters. I'm stuck here like there's an invisible dino or something. Otters. Oh, the otters in this game are cute too. Rainbow. Where's one that? Green. Get this one out. Okay. Peanut bit cap. We do enjoy people thinking I'm traditionally attractive. It's a nice change. Well, I'm sure it probably helps. You know, helps you feel better overall mentally. But I don't have any of my. I need my breeder shine horns. Maybe they're on the other level. In this? Way less than you do when you're 14. Nice. I feel like these might be them. What the heck, man? This is why I stopped playing for so long, because I threw everything in here. So, oh, these are them. Okay. And I also, okay, these are like all of my shit that I was actively breeding. Phoenixes. Sheep. Love the sheep in this damn game. Oh, my burning terror bird. That's cool. I can show that. Some dysmorphia for sure, and sometimes look and think, you're that 500-pound guy still. Happens. I mean, I remember, I think when I was like, ooh, how old would I have been? I feel like I was probably 13 or 14. I remember one day asking my dad how it felt to age, like what growing old felt like. Because I remember where I was at our house, and I remember being like, I think on our like back patio. And I remember asking him like what it felt like growing old and stuff. Like, is it scary? How does it feel? And I remember him talking about how like sometimes he's driving down the street, or he said back then, he had said like sometimes he's driving down the street and he forgets, like he feels like the same person he was, you know, at 20s. Um, and then he'll catch like a glimpse of himself in the rearview mirror and like, you know, like, oh, you know, like reminded, like back then he had said it like that I'd see some old guy out there and be like, oh shit. Like it we, you know, we still have those parts in us, so it makes sense. And sometimes those parts like are more activated and central to our experience and kind of take the wheel. Like, but it took me a long time to remember that with going to doctors and stuff too. Like, I have control now. Um, I know my body. I can I can advocate for myself. It's not gonna be like it's been before. And stuff like that. It's taken me a ton of work. And then yeah, I get that too though. Like I don't have a visual memory and stuff, so like I try not to perceive myself, which I know isn't the best, but I'm working on it. Streaming has been a way to work on it for me, I guess. Being forced to see myself and admit that I have like a body and I exist. I'm a person. 'Cause yeah, feeling comfortable in your body is difficult. I mean, it doesn't have to be, but society doesn't help with that. Actually discourages you feeling healthy, like healthy and confident in your body. It's easier for, you know, manipulation for labor and shit. Turn 30, you commit unloving. You turn 30 and thought of not being alive is now your worst fear. Oh yeah. Here. I don't know if anyone that knows me offline is viewing. Okay, I don't think so. I had attempted when I was 14. And I definitely then like I'd written a note and like all that. And I remember writing it like and thinking honestly until I turned 25, I didn't think I was gonna be alive beyond 25. Never really had any like dreams for myself or goals because I didn't see anything as possible for me. I didn't think there'd be a way. Um, and I'm glad that you know I'm thankful for little me and like the me and all those past that like kept going. Oh my god, there's my burning terror bird. And stuck with it because I have experienced a lot of things that I'd be bummed if someone else didn't get to experience. And yeah, shit's hard, but like, I don't know. if I die, then there is no point. And I don't know. I guess that's why I like fuck with trying to like help other people have hope that I've not really had for myself. But I like the idea of other people being able to get there and get to that point, you know? But then of course, like a lot of people see like, I know sometimes I'm overkill with it and I come off as like trying to be parasocial or preachy or weird or whatever, but I think it's just like better than the alternative for me with my history. I would rather feel like the weirdo and the nerd or whatever, and the person that's overly invested or like too positive, because I don't feel that way about myself. And I don't like the way that that feels for me, so why would I want someone else to feel like that? Joke was like, the way that's wanted it to themselves, you know, like the sword in the gut thing. Oh, and that was going to be your 30th birthday celebration. And I'm like, oh God, if I leave the house unscheduled, I could die, so best not do that. Yeah, exactly. Like, I think for the longest time growing up, I felt like, I don't know, I felt like I should end it because there was no hope for future me. But then thinking about it, like, why, if I don't like me now and if I don't feel like hopeful about my life now or whatever, then why would I take that chance away from like future me who could get there, could want that or whatever? And like just trying to, I don't know. I have problems. We all do. But it's just like, this one's my favorite Shinehorn I have. Lily for Lilith. It's so cute. The opposite almost. Yeah. For me, I think too, like growing up, I broke so many bones. And it like now with after all of my treatments and stuff and having some time between them and like I got a work from home job that was a desk job for 5 years. So I wasn't breaking as many bones because I wasn't walking as much and like having to push through other like jobs that I'd done in the past, food service and stuff. Um, so I stopped breaking as many bones, so it's hard for me to like remember how I felt that fucked too. Um, where it would feel like I just don't want this body. Because like, damn, I was constantly breaking something. Like I always had a new broken bone. I was always needing to treat something or like power through some pain. Not a lot of people saw me as disabled, even though I was breaking bones. And it was just a lot of like fight. But now I just try to be like, I got through that shit so I could be here. Why the fuck would I throw that away? You know, if little me could do it, why would I, you know, trash that opportunity? Deal and some shady business dealings. You had money and girls and like was badass and blah blah blah. A lot of cool stuff. We thought there's nothing else for you. So it's wild that like it was the exact opposite situations for the younger us that wanted to not be alive anymore. Well, yeah, I mean, I've even seen like Chester in Lincoln Park, like so many artists and creatives. Like food is an art form. Food is creative. Um, so many creatives like struggle with that too. And like it's like learning to understand that proximity to the human experience and like the human soul and art and beauty, that you are kind of more aware of also that pain, and that being aware of that pain doesn't mean that only that pain is valid, but holy shit, it takes a lot of freaking work. And I wish more people had the opportunity to get that like support to get it, you know. These are all of my shine horns. Well, not all of them. These are the main colorways that I was breeding up. Right now the lighting is fucked. Let me see if I need to clap to turn my light off. Or on. I'm confused. Might need to wait till daytime in game for them to be easier to see. But I've got these like cookies and cream ones, and I've sold some of them. I've got these like Hellboy ones that I'd made. So I like bred up the black, like actual black shade, pitch black, into like the feet, and that then black back stripe, and then I had to get the same red for the body and the chunkier back stripe and breed those zones in. And I had to breed all the stats in. And then I had made like a Joker colorway, but I think that's stuck in the between process because I was breeding the stats into one, and I have to get like a male that has all of the stats in one and then put it with all the females of that colorway to breed. Do that I haven't done. What's the point? I feel like I've done nothing left to achieve, and then your story's like, there's nothing to achieve. Oh. Probably have been like, man, I wish I could be disabled and not have to do any of this. And you probably would have been like, I want to do all that stuff, grass green and your watered or whatever they say. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe I'll leave all this up here for daytime. I'm just scared something's going to make them all run. Whistle, passive. Do that. And maybe that'll make it so they don't go anywhere. Damn, that's sick though. Yeah, thanks. I got them all thrown out at like the worst time because it's dark, like weird lighting, so it's only that blue tone and it's bright as shit. They look ridiculous. Maybe I'll throw out my horse and go fly around a little. Okay, now I have my like freaking brittle ass bones, and I still, like, senior year rolled around and I didn't apply for any scholarships because I didn't think I would get anything, and even if I could, I didn't think I deserved it. And then I even like was looking at army enrollment stuff, and I'm like, I can't be in the fucking army. Like, I know other people got school and stuff from it and housing and could have a car, but like that wasn't an option for me. And then I got my English degree, and now I'm here on the Twitch with a little doodle of myself chilling. Whoa, someone else's horse. Wait. It might be wild. Without the grass on for this game, it does load better and like run smoother, but definitely looks less pretty. Why? My spyglass. Has this just been playing Willow songs nonstop? I'm confused. Okay, it is wild. And its stats suck. I don't even want to mess with trying to kill it. Oh, is that a taser? Oh, no, it's an S dino, which means it's got higher stats. Wait, is that... it's shiny? Whoop. Where's my Thyla? Oh, it didn't die. Oh, but it's running right at me. Oh, now it's dead. Motherfucker. Oh, they're killing the baby. Whoop. Thanks for the follow, Trudy. How are you doing? Fuckers. This horse is not very strong with that move. Where's my Thyla with fire? Hey PW, what's up? I'm doing alright, thanks. I'm glad you're doing okay. Hot as shit outside, so played myself some Ark. It's been a while since I played it, so I'm having to relearn all the controls and stuff. Oh, I've got my burning fathomless roll rat, like a naked mole rat. Put the saddle on. Maybe I should put that setting on that was like low light enhancement. I don't know if that like helped. Oops, I missed. Okay. Maybe I left the Thyla out on top of the roof. Well, I can use one of my pyromanes. Which one have I leveled? That one or that one? Oh, here it is. Dante. It's Dante's Inferno, of course. Then I can do little like fire poofs with it. Oh my god. Go get this horse. Oh yeah, and then if you do clap again, like I have a little flashlight on me. And that's what the goat does. Those little shine horns and the light bets. Where? Oh! Oh. Well, this is unfortunate for me. No. Oh, am I lagging out? Oh no. Well, I'm safe. And then I don't even know if I remember where my base is on this map. With my shitty directions. Show my shine horns in the daytime. Yeah, back on PS4, I would play this game on official servers, and so everything ran by like real time. You have to spend hours feeding baby dinos, like, literal real life hours. And you have to really like block in all the time. And you get on every day to put food in the troughs and all that stuff, and like I could not do it anymore. It'd take literally like 8 hours to tame some dinosaurs, so you'd have to be sitting there giving them kibble and maintaining them being like knocked out. Like keep feeding them narcotics and stuff and shrinking them. I just could not do that anymore. So I definitely play on like a cluster now that someone else hosts. I was like I joined the like mod team for it, or like admin for it for like a week, and then they got rid of like a whole, or no, that was on the other cluster. I moved this cluster because the other one I'd played on was going fine, and then They had like deleted an entire line of dinosaurs on it, and it sucked because people had spent like hours of real life getting them, and I was like, I personally am willing to rebreed up dinos for everyone, and I'll deliver them myself and do all this stuff, and they were like, no, we're just not going to do it because it'd be too much of a mess. Then I definitely quit the admin team and stopped playing on that server because I was like, no fucking shot. I was like, sorry guys, I tried, and then dipped. I'm on this one, it's pretty chill. And I just don't like the idea of being like a moderator for this kind of stuff, unless I owned it and had control, so I know I could do like what I would ethically want to do. Back turtle. Huh. Element dust. But playing on this is nice because the rates are set to be a little less, or a lot less like ass. There's still enough where it takes a grind and you really get like gameplay out of it still, because I didn't want too buffed up of a server so I wouldn't have as much fun. And that it like ruined the point of playing the game, but this one's good. I just have to figure out how to get back to my base. Make sure. Okay, there is more shit. I think nothing else will run up to try to get me, so I can hop off this and fly over to my base. Shooting Oedipus right now, and Jesus. Oh shit. Are you liking it? What's out? And it shitted on me. It shitted on me, or I shitted on it. For 9 years, I still don't remember why your base is most times. Dude, I can't remember where mine is ever. It's such an issue. And then I'm so bad with just putting it on the map, so taking a little break too. Like, oh god. Do you have a favorite map you're playing on? I think I was by this blue... I wonder if I'm down this river a little. Ragnarok? Oh, okay, cool. Oh, that's what I'm on too. The center is so tough for me to find where. Oh yeah, the island is a classic. Island just gets kind of like, if you get a bunch of new people trying out the game, they'll go there, and then just a higher frequency of encounters with trolls. Otherwise, I like the island a lot. I love building in the redwoods. Ab is the worst. Oh, I love Aberration. That's my favorite map. I love it so much. But I understand that me loving it is like, it's a DSM-5 related qualification. Like, not everyone fucks with it like that. Yeah, finding anything in Aberration, and then like, if you're at the point where you have to go down into radiation and stuff too, the radiation zone, and then you're like trying to find reapers and stuff, that shit is a pain in the butt. But I used to spend so long, like, whenever I quit playing official on Extinction, or not Extinction, on Evolved, like the earlier version of the game, not Ascended, I had sold a lot of my shit. Because I always had people asking me for stuff, and yeah, I used to spend hours pulling like rock drake eggs and then breeding up rock drakes, and it was like my most gremlin hours activity. But it's definitely tough, and at first, when it was just me, it was really like impossible. But I've always been kind of social on game stuff or in chats. Like I'll type, I don't give a shit. I get a little more nervy with like joining random voice chats and stuff and don't really do that, but back then I just thought, fuck it. What's the worst that could happen? And was just careful about, you know, like having privacy. And someone had brought me in and gave me like a level 20 rock drake. So then I started pulling eggs with that, and then, yeah, bred them, you know, got better ones. And it happened. Worked out for me. And then I remember like they knew another tribe that was on that server, and one day I was like running along and talking in chat, and they invited me to a voice chat, and then I ended up joining that one, and we kind of made like a mega tribe. And that made it a lot easier, and it got way more fun too. Because being on Aberration and being solo on there too is really like, it's creepy. Especially when you first spawn in and you gotta like try to outrun raptors and you're just getting murdered left and right. It is tough. Transfer shine horns back into here. I feel like I would like playing this more with keyboard and mouse than controller. Need to practice the controls offline. But I love Aberration. It's a love-hate relationship. That's why I'm excited. I think, doesn't Genesis have rock drakes and stuff on it too? Yeah, I'm playing a server. You just go to... Oh, that's the one that has even with your map. Oh my god. Yep, that's my struggle. And oh shit, credit systems in Canada are different than the US. Interesting. I guess that makes sense, but since, you know, the entire infrastructure is a bit different. Oh, okay. I wonder if I quit before that came out then. Like, it stopped playing. I've been playing again now, obviously, but... Shit. I don't think I built a base on that map either. They just have Extinction and... Extinction, Center, Ragnarok. I think that might be it. I used to have... I might still have an Aberration base, but it's like bare bones. Because I didn't want to have to go to it to refill shit and stuff. I mean, it's a... Let me see. It's a public server, so you could join it, but I don't play on it really. I know it's very full. But if you're looking for a server, sure. I just won't, you know. I don't know how much I would interact on it, but I just kind of keep to myself these days on Arc. How do I even see? Just because with Arc, like my dino hoard up here, I don't remember if you're in here, of my dinos, like I have a lot of structure that I like to maintain. I like knowing where things are, not having to worry, like, mess with it. My routine. Shit stays the same if I log off for like 5 days, a week, a month. But I can just reset timers. I think this one's Mystic Isles. You can probably Google it. I think they've got like a website and shit. But like I said, I haven't played on it in a long time, so I can't promise that it like I don't know if there's any like drama or mess going on. I'm honestly, it's actually good. Oh, well then yeah, I think this one's fine. I think if I go to here, it'll show it. Yeah, you can see it's that Mystic Isles PvE though. I think they might have a PvP server. I can't remember if they did, but they have a bunch of different maps and stuff. And I think they have like 3 options for a lot of the newer maps. That way one doesn't get too congested. They host when I played last, they would host events and stuff. That was cool. I think I'm gonna switch to Stardew because I forgot how overwhelming this was. And I've done like nothing in the game right now except refill my trough. Which I've got. I guess I don't have anything here that would go in the trough. I left it all on the ground somewhere. I am about to marry, or I need to figure out how to propose to Abigail on Stardew. I just have Stardew on the ring. But yeah, I like breeding up all these different like breeds of stuff. I've got your boas, I've got thylas, all my shinies, my water-based stuff. I love breeding up the turtles. What are they called? They're like, they're not Acatina, that's the snails. Let me see. These. Archelons. They're sick. They're so cute. All kinds of random stuff. Oh, there's like the giant crabs and stuff too. And because so much stuff spawns, I have a way less difficult time in this game. Like, not... Like, I still hoard way too many dinosaurs and shit and tames. But I can at least kill the wild ones because I know, like, they literally are just set on a schedule to spawn and stuff. But I do feel like farming. Easier for me to chat, too. I feel like I need to get a good session in with Ark off stream where I like get back into like all of the mechanics, and I need to teach myself the controls for PC because keyboard and mouse would be so much better for that. It's just difficult being new-ish to PC. This and then game capture, Stardew. Oh, and make sure I fix the size. Ugh, I wish this game would let me set like the exact size in settings so I didn't have to manually resize it based off vibes. It'll have a slight barrier at the top, that's alright. And then let me adjust this, and volume can go up a teeny bit. And once this opens up, I need to change my stream settings. Might use Schmettable. But I've been locking in with Stardew. I think Stardew fulfills a lot of the like satisfaction of Ark, like that I get from Ark too. I get from Stardew. I love like a life sim, farming sim, management, city builder, any of that shit. Okay, and I have my settings zoomed out super far because that's what looks best on my Steam Deck. And I think every time I do 80, 85. Yeah. I can show my progress since the last time I played. So I'm gonna change my playlist because this is not a bad playlist, but I'm confused at the choices. I want to get my Stardew flow state. Oh wait, I need to grab a cake to take to Abigail too. Those. I think I had taken. Oh, actually, I don't think I took screenshots because I was playing it on my Steam Deck when it happened too. But Abigail had me meet her in like the graveyard, and she was flirting with me, and it was pretty scandalous. And then Pierre showed up, and she called him a misogynist, and then hid in the bushes. Oh, not those. That would be super unfortunate for me. I need to get rid of these trees once my trees grow on Ginger Island also. Oh. Those. Kill that too. And this will be all ancient fruit. Those. And then I take the plain ones to put into wine. I'm also focusing on growing a ton of hay, and I built another silo. Be able to stock that up for winter now that I have so many critters. Oh, and my ostrich hatched. Where's it at? It's so freaking cute. Where the heck? Oh, there it is. Look at it go. Oh, here, let me zoom it in. My child. Brickabella. This shirt does not match this outfit. I just like that it's got a little backpack on, but I gotta get rid of this. I look ridiculous. I'm excited for the ostrich to grow because then I can make stuff to sell out of the egg, and I think that'll help knock out some achievements that I still need to get done. Let me go find Abigail. I really want the mods installed too. Like I'm excited to play a modded version. So I'm really excited to get through my vanilla playthrough. I want my horse to be all cutie and stuff. Actually, she's probably in her house since it's rainy. And sweet pea to rub on my sore hip. Please bring one as soon as you can, Penny. Well, I might forget to do that, but I'm gonna pretend I will. Okay, Abigail is not in here. Wait, she's not in the kitchen, right? No, I'll talk to her. Caroline, my garden's happy today. Probably because it's raining. Fresh veggies all up in the fridge. Wait, can I read this note? Mr. Pierre, it pains me to be the bearer of bad news, but I feel obligated to inform you of a recent development most threatening to your livelihood. Oh, this was before I got rid of them. Jojo Co. has decided to expand into Pelican Town. It's too late for protest. Jojo builders have already broken ground for the new Jojo Mart. This must be devastating news for you. So many years in business, a local standby, and now obscured by the shadow of a powerful, efficient, economically viable corporation. What a shame. As a manager of the new Jojo Mart, I feel, to some degree, personally responsible for your predicament. As such, I'd like to offer you a position as assistant grocer. Wages start at 5 gold an hour. I look forward to seeing your resume, Mr. Morris, manager, Pelican Town Jojo Mart. I'm glad I fucking chased their asses out of town. Never bought one thing from Joja Mart. She might be in here. And then I'll go check out the dock. Oh. I'll go check out the dock. Not in the graveyard. Oop. Oop. Normally she'll stand down here somewhere on the dock, but clearly she's not here. Well, oh, while I'm here. There's Shane's little punk ass. Red mullet frenzies began at the beach. I don't know if I've ever caught that. I feel like I had to have by now, but I wonder if Abigail's in the community center. Oops. Remember, I don't think I can use anything in here. Where is this little shithead? Oh, maybe the library? Oh my god. Okay. Oh, I didn't realize I could rearrange the collection. That's kind of cool. I'll find a sweet pea. Not in there. Was it Robin that needed that? Penny. Oop. make sure I'm thinking of the right person. Motherfucker, there she is. You're invincible and just today, but they're a handful, but it's nice to make a difference in someone's life. Hello, Sadie. You saw the notice I posted? Thanks so much. Here's your payment, as promised. I need to stop this fan from pointing at me. It's overstimulating me. There we go. I'm so excited for the endometriosis, like, non-invasive. Like, I think there's like a swab test or something now. I'm so excited. I need to get that. And then hopefully, if I don't have endometriosis, then I could just start treating my PMOS versus having to look into how the fuck I would even deal with endometriosis as someone whose hormones help control their bone density. During the menopause would not be a choice. I don't know if it'd be just, I don't know. But I'm excited about that. I saw that on in a couple different articles this week. That's why everybody's gay. Mm-hmm. Forgot I needed the cake for Abigail. And like on, there's a mod too that's like better chests, so you can just go to auto deposit in one chest and it'll sort it all into like all your chests. So I wouldn't have to go around like clicking one chest at a time. Mango jelly. Let me see how much one of these sells for. One is $9.60. An egg is, it's less. It sells for less if I make it into mayonnaise. Oh my god. Well, good to know. I just got this elf jewelry too. Elvish jewelry. Dirty but still beautiful. On the side is a flowing script thought by some to be the ancient language of the elves. No elvish bones have ever been found. I don't know what to do with that. I feel like I must need to combine it with something. Now I'll just put it away in my dresser. With these hats that I got. Oh, I can't. I'm about to look it up. Elvish jewelry, Stardew minus AI. Artifact that can be found. Stardew Museum collection item. Okay, so I must have already found it once before. Oh, and it's a 1% chance to spawn. Man. Duplicates, you can use them as yellow dye. Oh, I can make a shirt. I'll do that. A jewelry shirt. Let me get my fabric. It's out here. Yeah. Cloth. Anything else I've dumped in here that could go inside? Aged lava eel roe sells for so much. Oh my god. Dang. Oh yeah, it's up here. My sewing machine. Put the cloth, and I've made something out of that before. Need some of that. Yep. About this. Yep. About this. Yep. About one of these. Yes. I'm trying to craft one of everything. Jewelry shirt. That look like? Oh, so you just have a chain on? This is kind of cute. Doesn't match my outfit though. I would change my shirt too. And I will run find Abigail again. Actually, I think Abigail goes to sleep around now. And I can't get back into Pierre's. So I guess I could just check the, what's it called? The saloon. Comb shirt. I need something green. The green belted shirt or the fishing vest, I remember liking. That's the one I for sure was okay with. Okay, that's too dark of a green. Same with that one. I will just put the fishing vest back on, because it at least kind of blends in with the rest of the fit. Is it over here? Nope. Oh, okay. Yeah, I messed up. Make sure she's not on the dock late as hell for some reason, and then yep, I'll sleep through the night, and I'll be able to find her in the morning. Wait, let me see if that one part was over here. Nope. Oh. How are my trees able to grow? Wonder if I planted them too close together. Ossified blade? Put that away too. Oh, I already have one of those. Nice. Battery. Squirrel. Invasive crab species is living in the local mine. I'm not going mining right now. Oh. Just accept it. I guess it doesn't hurt. Wait here for Abigail to pop out. Okay, this feels like a lot of the same music too. We do this playlist. So do work on it later. Sheesh. Congrats. Focus if it's it out. Well, hey, you're going through a lot too, so it makes sense. Gotta pace yourself. You've been getting a lot of work done on the other fucking courses. Makes sense. Hopefully taking a break too will make it like, you know, better outcome. Wish I could have a spotted horse or something. Don't even have any other courses to do. Shit. Freedom. You can just stare at the wall and shit. Creative writing finished, but whatever. What do you have to do for creative writing? Do you have like one specific thing you gotta write or something, or a bunch of stuff? Ooh, fiction. Nice, nice. Here she is. 5 lessons in children's fiction, 5 lessons in creative nonfiction. Oh, okay. So, a nice little spread of stuff left. How did you? I like this. Motherfucker, that wasn't for you. That was for your daughter. My girlfriend, you shithead. I would love to live in an old farmhouse like you. The creak of a floorboard, the slow plumes of dust whispering through the rafters. There's something special about an old building, isn't there? Well, bruv, you're gonna be living there soon, trust. And I gotta go get her a whole new cake. Their dad's a fuck. Dude is a misogynist, bro. Took her cake. And then just said he liked it. Full of grade 12 English. Nice. Okay. That makes sense. God, it's been so long since I've read that. Oh yeah, cake's inside. You have to like write a reflection about it or take like a quiz or something. Like essay questions. I feel like she probably went to the beach. I think that's where she goes during the day. Freaking Lewis. Yes, seriously love this. Yeah, no problem, Abigail. I need to look up if, like, when I would even propose to her. 5 questions to answer in paragraphs. I think it's reflective on the themes of resilience. Oh, okay. Here, let me look something up quick. Oh. Oh, yeah. Okay. That's what I thought. Oedipus was a dick, and then soon hardship was confirmed. He gouged his own eyes out. So, like, I don't know if he is resilient. I'm pretty sure. Hold on, let me look. Pretty sure I used Oedipus in a poem in like college. I'm gonna look on my Substack quick. Actually, I need to do all this. That. My article thingy have is called As the Bluebird Dies that I published stuff on Substack, but I haven't used it in a while because it's a little depresso. Huh. What the fuck? Huh. Someone else made something very similar after I made my Substack. They made a Substack too. Weird. Anyway. Maybe it's a prerequisite for school. That'd be exciting. Huh. Let me look on my phone. Sorry, I might have just found some wild shit out. Swear to God, if someone fucked with my Substack, I'm gonna be pissed. Okay, no, it's still there. Oh, yeah. And A Holiday in the Heartland. That included Oedipus. And his eye socket screaming that he could never see the world again. Yeah. Okay. Got sidetracked. I gotta look into that other account later. Trying to see what the situation could be eligible for student rentals, which are like way cheaper. They're 1 bedrooms for the 1,000 inclusive around you for students. Shit, definitely then. Yeah, getting through that would be amazing. That would be sick if it did. I hope it does. Oh my god. I gotta look this up again. I knew I needed to freaking make a dude, this shit does not even pop up now. Except not for before August 1st, but there's potential if you rush. Oof. Really interested? Let's see. Hmm. The fuck? Just hope love has to be real. Sorry. Almost done with this. Hmm. So you're most ready to come. Uh, I'm very confused. Huh. What else I did? Uh, charger. What the fuck? Sorry, this is so strange to run across because I'm like, is this a ripoff? I'm so confused. This has never popped up before. And I'm also like, uh, having had a stalker is weird. Because I have to be like, okay, how'd that pop up? And why is it mirroring my shit? Hmm. Weird. Can't wait to have to deal with that later. Oh, you cut your hair? Nice. Oh shit. I gotta go soon too and have a short stream. I forgot I have someone coming to town to visit. Someone has a similar, someone made a Substack with the same exact imagery and color story and purpose and everything as mine. Some dude. So I went to look up something of mine and now it says I'm associated with this fucking rando. And I don't know. I have a couple ideas. Either it's totally not related, it's Stalker McGee, or it's this one motherfucker from a Discord I'm in. Huh. Let me see. Maybe I'll just. Yeah, really interesting. Very weird. It looks like a lot of like AI too. Huh. What the fuck? Yeah, maybe I'll just unstream and go look into that. Because it's very strange. What a weird coincidence. Huh. All right. Well, sorry for a low key stream that I didn't achieve too much during. Yeah, it has my brain worms wiggling, bro. I'm sitting here looking at it. That adds an original 151 to this. Oh my god, I'll be playing that on stream too then, shit. Did we? Huh. That'd be so cool. Yeah. I'm gonna go figure that out because clearly my head's not in it. And I gotta shower and get ready for the person that's coming to town. Sorry. Jordan. I hope that your homework goes well. I might be streaming again after this, but we'll see. Um, or I could, I guess, do a be right back screen for a second and just read this. No, I gotta shower and get ready to go. Ugh. I just wish I could have streamed longer. Maybe I'll stream tonight. But thank you for hanging out. Sorry for a low key, kind of unproductive stream, but it was nice chatting. And I will see you later. Bye bye.